what's happening? You're here on the Empire with me, Dave, and I am here to deliver to you my final verdict on Sony's PlayStation VR, which has just been released in New Zealand. Okay, so the PlayStation VR, I've had this for about 2 weeks now. From the moment that I put it on, I have been just staggered at what has been created here. Now, this is not specific to the Sony PlayStation VR, and it is specific to VR. What Sony has done is created a very accessible and hopefully highly available version of the VR visor that people who have tried it will rave about it endlessly, and anybody who tries to explain it to anyone won't do a very good job, because you cannot actually explain VR to people very well. You put on a headset and your brain believes that you're somewhere else and that you can somehow interact with this world in a new and different way. They're right, but it doesn't translate well to a flat screen. You can see on the screen behind me, I'm looking around, it's got the lights on, everything's flashing, and that looks very flat. But for me, this is happening all around me. There is depth. I can see that post. The lights are behind it. There's a lit up, statue there. It's my brain believes that I am in this room in some massive monument with crazy lighting and fireworks and everything's brightly lit and incredible. It's convincing. It's not completely convincing. There are things that you have to consider around the limitations of the PlayStation hardware. There's definitely pixelation. Everybody who's tried it on has said, okay, yeah, it's really, really, really good, but the pixelation is a bit of not a concern, but it's the most obvious thing that you see that's not quite right. The other things as well, some of the games on this platform are really, really fast moving, and anything to do with extreme changes in motion and virtual reality, they don't really translate that well for the player. Your brain starts to anticipate the motion, and your stomach starts to feel like it's about to be moved violently, and then nothing happens to you physically, but the sensation, your brain goes through the sensation of this thing happening in this visor happening to you. It's really, really strange. But a couple of examples. I was playing the Batman VR game the other day. You may well have seen it if you were watching one of our live streams. There's a bit in that where you stand on the edge of a very tall building and you look down, and your brain tells you that you are stood on the edge of a very tall building and you shouldn't be there, and you need to get back from that right now. And you feel vertigo. It's odd. It's really strange. Like when you're playing one of the shooting games, you almost expect the gun in your hand, which is actually a tiny motion controller. You expect that to have recoil, and your brain's telling you that, hey, there's going to be a lot of kickback on this. But it fools you. It makes you believe that you're somewhere else, and that's possibly the highest compliment that you can pay to virtual reality, is that you are virtually taken to a reality that exceeds the drab 70s decor and 24-inch flat screens of the normal gaming experiences that you've got. It is astonishing. The headset itself is a pretty comfortable thing. I like the fact that the visor is very fluid. It moves forward, it slides back. It is very adjustable. It's designed to be moved between players very easily. In fact, when you take the visor off, the PlayStation recognizes that's happened, and the next person that puts the visor on, it recalibrates it by default, and it asks them if they want to sign on as a different user to continue the game, or to start from the beginning. Sony have designed their PSVR experience to be social, which is clever, considering that virtual reality is all about taking yourself out of the current world that you're in and transporting yourself to somewhere else. I like that Sony have tried to make it about experiences with your friends and having other people in the room. I've had a bunch of evenings where I've had a couple of people over, 3, 4 other people in the room, and it's been really, really easy to move the headset between players. It's been something that's really good. Now, normally we would give a product a score out of 10. It's very difficult for me to do that in this case because it's not really something that it's not really an evolution of anything. It's actually just a fundamental shift in the way that you will play games. It's like being handed a gaming laptop for the first time, but you know that there were no gaming laptops before it. The change is at that level. It's not perfect. You know, there are definitely things that that could have been improved if Sony wanted to make it a more expensive experience, considering that this peripheral costs more than the console that it runs on. I actually think that Sony's done the right thing. They've not gone out to make the best VR on the marketplace. They've gone out and made the best VR at a price point that they believe people are willing to pay, and they've made it as accessible as they can. It's good VR. You believe you're somewhere else when you put this headset on, and that's you cannot actually say much more about VR than that. So my final words are: don't necessarily go out and buy the PSVR because it's going to be the best one that you'll ever have. Try it. You can't explain VR to people. Anybody that tries to explain VR does a rubbish job, and ultimately their advice is the same, which is that you have to go and you have to experience it for yourself. Find somewhere that has one of these on demo. Ask to try it on. Fire up a demo of a game or something like that and just be absolutely amazed at what it does to you. It takes you somewhere. It takes you somewhere that you were not before, and it's a brilliant thing. I'm really sad that I have to give this back to PlayStation New Zealand tomorrow, but at the same time I feel incredibly privileged that I was one of the first people in the country to get my hands on it. I've tried to share it with as many people as I can, and everybody has said the same thing, that they have just been astounded at what virtual reality does. Sony has put virtual reality in the hands of console gamers. It's an awesome thing. If you've got a PlayStation and you were thinking about getting into VR, you have nothing to worry about. If you were thinking about getting into VR and you were concerned about how much it was going to cost and you haven't built a kick-ass gaming computer yet, look at the PSVR. It's a really, really good alternative. And hey, if you have already got a VR headset and a kick-ass gaming PC, then let's hope that the PSVR being in the marketplace encourages more AAA content to get released for the VR scene. So I don't think anybody loses with the PSVR. Gamers get a great new way to experience content. Developers have a new platform upon which to release VR games, and hopefully, this would be good news for Sony as well, because they'll sell an absolute ton of these things. Heck, I'm seriously considering picking one up myself. So, yeah, no score out of 10 for me on this one, guys, but really, go out there, get your head into this, try it out, and just be amazed at what it does. So thanks very much for listening. This was Dave.